right, welcome back to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast, and we're finishing up our all-time Survivor season rankings with number 14 through number 1. As we mentioned in the first half, if there are any ties on our list, and there are several, Andy and I are going to break those ties right here on the podcast as you're listening. And if we can't come to a definitive conclusion for some reason, we will take the unfortunate conclusion of the guests that we had this summer and use their rankings. The ultimate Purple Rock for the Purple Rock podcast. So, Andy, let's start with number 14 on our list.
Well, you know what? Let's, for the people that listened to the first half of the show so long ago, maybe we should recap how we got to 14. And I'm not as good at that, so I'll let you do it.
Okay, so from my definitive list here, 28, Nicaragua. 27, Gabon. 26, we had South Pacific. 25 was Thailand. 24 was Vanuatu. 23, Redemption Island. 22, Africa. 21, One World. 20, Marquesas. 19, Fiji. 18, Guatemala. 17, Samoa. 16, Panama. 15, Australia. And Andy, what is our 14th ranked season?
Caramoan, which this is about where we had it. I had it at 15. You had it a little higher.
You can say I had it at 11. That's all right. We're going to post these rankings when we're all done anyway.
Oh, it wasn't me. I was just yes. So and if I wager to guess, it ranked higher for you because you really like Cochran.
You are exactly correct.
Which
and
is
Malcolm.
fine. He was really entertaining. Malcolm was really entertaining. A lot of this season was pretty entertaining. Obviously, there were some dark patches with the Hanses. I'm actually fine
Hans
with
singular.
Yes, Hansness. I'm actually fine with Philip, but I know a lot of people aren't. For me, why it's basically right in the middle. Yeah, and I thought it was a good part of the string that we've been on, but the lower half of the 4 good seasons or great seasons in a row. Is I just am not a fan of the fans versus favorite concept.
Yeah, and I can see that. I don't think they really stress the fans versus favorites part of this because, as we pointed out when we were recapping it, it's more of like a fans versus, hey, there was some people that used to be on the show.
Yeah, and they never call it fans versus favorites. To their credit,
they don't.
I think they knew, like even the first time they did fans versus favorites, Johnny Fairplay, Amy, Eliza, like. A lot of favorites among that group. Yeah, returnees versus non-returnees, which is kind of my point. Returnees and all of the stuff dealing with the returnees that weren't Brandon Haas this season was really good. It's freaking hilarious that they voted out Francesca first, Having the double idol plays and Andrea following Malcolm around for the idol and then getting blindsided. Like, these are all good things. It's just the non-returnees, because let's definitely not call them fans, were almost to a man a complete dud.
Yes, they were pretty terrible. The only redeeming quality of any of them, I believe, was Reynolds throwing things into things.
Yeah, and then Eddie's plan for a dog bar. Like, those are the highlights.
Yes. Yeah, like, when those are the high points of your fans' tribe, not a good sign.
Like, this is how low it was. The attractive ladies, which for most part were blindly attractive, were the first ones voted out. I mean, like, they had nothing for us. But, to your point, Cochran is lots of fun. He's a great narrator. He's a great character. He is generally, the survivor most like the people we talk Survivor with and possibly are. So it's great to see that, you can succeed in that way. But also just the fan stuff was so elevated. Or not, the returnee stuff was so elevated. It's just, I would have loved it all that. Give me all the dessert. Don't give me the vegetables too.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, the reason that I have it this high is I like Cochran, I like Malcolm, I like Dawn. I kind of liked Andrea in this season. It was a pretty decent cast. I mean, as you mentioned, though, the fans were kind of a dud. But other than that, some interesting gameplay. Like you said, the double idol thing, hold up, bro. Like, all that stuff. Interesting, entertaining TV. So that's where it's 14. It's basically the exact middle.
Yeah, and like post-merge, there was a string of probably like 4 or 5 episodes after a row. It was just awesome,
really good.
Awesome. Like the voting out Corinne was awesome. Like, there's lots of great stuff. So For me, I kind of put it right at the middle because I think there were some seasons that just didn't have the suckage of, you know, the non-returnees. Although there is one season that has exactly that. And that's where we're at. So, speaking of not mixing, you know, chocolate and peanut butter, I suppose, although that makes something awesome. Our next season, at number 13, is Survivor All-Stars. And this one, we have a lot of disagreement.
This is a pretty wide variance here. So you had it number 6 ever. I had it number 17.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that probably represents, like, a good fraction of the audience. Like, this is a season that I think those who love it really do, and those that hate it also really do. Now, you had it out of the top 20, so maybe... Or you did not have it in the bottom 20 to 28.
No.
So I guess you're not a complete hater, but...
No.
I'm not sure we gave you enough time to describe your feelings about All-Stars.
I get why it broke the way it did. It's just... I don't know. I mean, everyone having their alliances beforehand, and then obviously, like you mentioned it when we were covering this, Boston Rob and Amber probably get to the end because they didn't have those alliances beforehand, and nobody ever really paid attention to them on the show. Didn't even acknowledge, like, oh yeah, there's 2 of them. They're a couple. Maybe we should break that up at any point. In fact, Lex is bending over backward to keep them as a couple so that he thinks that Rob will help him out later in the game. I don't know. It's certainly an interesting cast. I mean, we talked about that before. When I saw the list of people they were going to have on this season, as a fan, I'm going, wow, those are a decent portion of the people that I would want back. So
yeah, kind of almost everybody but Rob and Amber.
Right, yeah. I mean, those were the 2 that you're kind of like, yeah, them? I mean, Sheehan, to an extent, was kind of like, huh, really?
Yeah, but you kind of get it. It was like, okay,
yeah,
she's the lone representative. When I thought more about Rob, it's like, well, he was a big personality, and he was a bit of a villain, so okay, I get that, but, like, dude didn't even make the merge. Amber, it was obvious that it was like, okay, the other pretty girl said no.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of those things like, oh, why didn't you take John from Marquesas instead? I feel like he was the more interesting villain, but I mean, it turns out right choice in retrospect.
Like they knew what they were doing. They obviously knew that Rob Mariano had a lot more to deliver, and given that he ends up becoming one of the most significant people in competitive reality TV history, they got that one right. How did you feel at the time?
Well, what's funny is we talked about the Richard and Sue incident, that we'll call it. That at the time didn't affect me so much because I think I was in college at the time, and so that seemed like something that ridiculous college kids would do. Never occurring to me that this is like a 45-year-old man doing this. It was kind of like, oh yeah, no, that's creepy and gross and wrong. So I think in retrospect, that kind of sullies my memories of the season a little bit.
Oh yeah, and I totally get, like, and I even said, if that is one of the reasons, and absolutely, like, that's pretty inexcusable. And at the time, they were joking around. She's like bringing at me, but then you also realize it's like it'll never happen again. Let's hope. I think Survivor would be like, no, put your effing shorts back on. That's not Fingers how this crossed. Challenge is. Like, if you want to walk around naked at camp, that's your business. If it has social consequences, then that's how the game takes care of it. But we're not going to put our competitors in a situation where it's basically forfeit your opportunity to succeed at the challenge or allow yourself to be, molested. Although I guess they do that when they, like, have them on trees, but at least they're not naked. So, no, that was bad.
So why do you have it at 6? That seemed extraordinarily high to me. I can understand maybe you think 17 is too low, and I'll admit that, maybe it could have gone higher on my list, but why 6?
This was the hardest season for me to rank. I bounced it around the lower half of the top 10 throughout. It's just, I'm not sure I've ever loved Survivor as much as I loved it during All-Stars. And what's surprising is it wasn't because of the people I thought going in. Like, the people I was most excited to see were, like, Rob C., Colby,
Rupert.
Yeah, actually, Rupert. Absolutely, Rupert. Trying to think of a woman.
Throw in your token woman, Andy.
Yeah, and it kind of would be, right? Like, the ones I would have been most excited to see would have been Colleen and Elizabeth, who did not come.
Right.
Yeah, maybe Tina. I enjoyed Tina, but I didn't care when she was voted out either. Maybe Kathy. I like Kathy. And I think this is the first time I ever played Fantasy Survivor, and I had Kathy and...
No one cares about your fantasy team.
No, it's just I'm trying to think. Yes, no, literally nobody does. For the fact that I had it. But I was trying to think of, like, my expectations going in was to be excited about them. And I did not like Rob Mariano in Marquesas, you know. I found Amber attractive, and that's about it, you know. I remember at Australia, he's like, come on, show her more, but I got why they didn't.
Right.
And that's, I mean, obviously, you know, their story, but mostly just the way Rob played and the way he attacked Survivor was a way that I wanted people to attack Survivor. That whole, like, since I started thinking about it more. So probably since midway through Australia. So it was just thrilling in a way that other seasons didn't. So when I was looking at the list, and it's like, oh, that's too high. And I'm like, F it. It's my list. I know John's going to rank it low anyway. And just the seasons are in and around it, I wasn't as excited about as the time. And then the retrospect hasn't really affected me, you know. I did not like the Rich thing as, you know, basically the next episode when Sue reacted, and it was enough time for me to realize, yeah, that was effed up. But other than that, the fact that these people aren't friends anymore, I don't give a damn about, you know? Like, get over it, you crybaby Lex. Like, in my mind, he can say it was a personal favor all he wants, and, you know, he was listening more because it was a friend. Absolutely. But he did it for strategic reasons, and it didn't pay off. He had no problem voting out his buddy Ethan, voting out his buddy Colby. So that he got burned was just desserts for me, because I don't care. I don't care if Tom never talks to Rob again. I'm not in on their texts, you know? So the fact that, yeah, this is like, oh, there's a lot of ugly behind-the-scenes stuff. We'll leave it behind the scenes. I bet some of my favorite movies had some really ugly behind-the-scenes stuff, too.
Well, I find it funny that you overinflated your rankings, and I tanked my rankings a bit for this.
For the same reason. So we might have, yeah. So it might actually be where it should be.
Yep. So let's move on, because we got a three-way tie next, and this is going to be interesting.
This is.
So 10, 11, and 12, tied for 10th place, essentially. 3 seasons, Borneo, China, and Blood vs. Water. How do we want to do this? Do we want to figure out which of these 3 should be lowest first?
Well, I think this is also significant, because decides what's in the top 10, and... You know, in our world, in our society, 5s and 0s matter, right? So top 10 matters a lot more than 11 or 12. So maybe we should do it the opposite way. Which one of these deserves to be in the top 10? Because I know when I was ranking, the ranking I gave was basically, this kind of should be in the top 10.
Yeah, I like all 3 of these seasons, but I feel like I want to put Borneo at 10.
Yeah.
It just feels like where that should be.
Yeah. When I was doing my rankings, I was looking in around basically these seasons, and part of me is like, I kind of like China more, but it's just like Borneo needs to be in the top 10. If I was just doing a top 10 list, I'd put Borneo in, even if it was just for, you know, honorary rights, so it could be mentioned, so that I would never have to talk about, like, that I forgot it or something. So right. I think so. I think Borneo at 10 is right. And
Which is funny, because I have China at number 8, and I'm still going to put Borneo ahead of it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it a bit more why once we sort this out. So now we've got China and Blood vs. Water. So I had Blood vs. Water at 9, you had it at 10, and then I had China at 11 and 8. Yeah, it's tough. We all kind of feel similar about these. So,
yeah. So I'll lead off. Obviously, I'm totally in the bag for Tyson. I love him so very much. He's one of my favorite players ever. Not so much from a strategic thing, just because he's entertaining to watch. This is not my favorite version of Tyson. It's a fairly decent season that's pretty interesting, but I think I would put China ahead of this.
Yeah,
I mean, China has the better cast. I would kind of lean towards a newbie season having that good of a cast over a returnee season.
I'll have banged the gong, and I will continue about returnees versus... Yeah, they did that so much in China. About returnees versus non-returnees, this was the season that it worked the most, speaking of Blood versus Water. Part of it's just because of osmosis, right? These family members at least had some knowledge of what to expect. And also, several of the returnees were chosen more for their loved one than they were for their own abilities.
Looking at you, Monica Culpepper.
Cat.
And Cat.
Possibly Horus.
Oh, yeah. Probably.
Dude won. But so I think it was a perfect match for those two. So it wasn't the same dud as the other ones were, even though the first 4 episodes I think were all loved ones. But, it also had Redemption Island.
Yeah, but in its defense, pre-merge Redemption Island in this season was, if you're going to have it, the best possible version of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it ends at the merge, we probably never complain about it here. We're
Nope.
like, oh, it's good. They had the family drama because the stuff at the arena was great television. It's one of the reasons why we rank it this high. Right. Getting to see, Candace and John spending that time was at least an interesting twist to that otherwise time suck that is checking on with the people that are away on an island, which we're getting this season. But then,
oh, you know what? I didn't get to mention this. Actually, I mentioned it on our last podcast, and it totally got cut out because of audio issues. But I want to give Blood vs. Water some more credit because it didn't have RC on it.
That's right. We lost possibly the most annoying non-Colton before the game even ever started. But, I was battling with putting China in the top 10 too, for I think the reasons that you did. It was a great cast. They did lots of interesting things, strategically. So yeah, let's do it. Blood vs. Water 12, China 11, Borneo 10.
Perfect.
Okay.
Agreed.
So why Borneo 10 now? Well, actually, I guess the question, we already sorted out why. It needs to be in the top 10. Why do we only put it 10? Like, some people would be top 5 or top 2.
You can't, only because the game has evolved too much. I mean, I'm still putting it there for cast and entertainment level, but gameplay, fairly weak because, no one was really playing a game yet.
There's one guy playing a game, and he was playing Snakes versus Ladders, yeah.
Right. Snakes versus Ladders.
Oh, yeah, that's what they'll call it in next season of Survivor, just like Blood versus Water.
I believe the game was Shoots and Ladders. In America.
You don't know about Snakes and Ladders?
Snakes and Ladders. Must be a Canadian thing. Do they sell that at Tim Hortons?
Geez, or maybe it's a British thing imported to Canada. I'm learning this. Wow. I mean, we also know what Shoots and Ladders were, but there's both variants. Okay. You slide down the snakes like you do with a shoot. Borneo is so hard to compare to everything else.
It really is. It was one of the ones that's like, oh, how do you rank this? Because it's really not a season of Survivor, but it's a good season of TV.
Yeah, and at the same time, it was like a phenomenal experience as a TV viewer. Like, this is a paradigm shift on what television could be. Like, it invented an entire new genre, which a bit is also kind of a strike against it, but not really. Like, when done right, that's another part of a good, well-rounded TV diet. Now, this is the only reality competition show that you and I watch, but I've heard good things about, like, the cooking ones or the designing clothes ones or whatever. Amazing Race had lots of really good seasons of television, too. So, like, this deserves, like, in the Hall of Fame of television seasons, forget Survivor, this belongs there. But, yeah, I didn't know what to do with it because what I love about Survivor is not what this season was, even though I loved this season when I watched it.
Yes, it wasn't Survivor yet, but it was great TV.
So that's why it has to be in the top 10, and then I think both you and I was like, well, 10 then.
10 it is. All right, so let's move on, because we actually, even though we have a very varied opinion on number 9, it ends up with no dispute. It's number 9 by itself. Micronesia, and you were way low on this season. You had it 14. I had it 4. And I think you already made your argument as to why it belonged at 14, and I can kind of see it. I tend to side more with Matt, who we discussed the show with. I think it was just a very entertaining season. I liked a lot of the favorites that they brought back. It's hard for me to rank that one too low. Like I said, I put it in my top 5. I think it was one of the better seasons they've ever done. Not, admittedly, as we mentioned with Caramoan, the fans, maybe not the best possible casting choices, but they weren't as bad as the Caramoan fans.
I think they were fine casting choices. I just think they were overmatched. Like, put some of those people in a normal season, and I think they can do well. I think Liz was one of them, I believe. I think even the bitchy of the final 2 girls was probably a good character. Mikey B was a good character, It's just experience matters in many things. Imagine that, especially versus complete lack of experience.
And I actually read something from Kathy, who went out because she went crazy nutballs. When she's on her meds, she's a very interesting and funny person.
Yeah, she just needed antipsychotics.
Yes.
Honestly, the split is wider here, in part because you put it at 4. That's why it gets higher. But it's kind of the same argument of All-Stars. You feel about it what I feel, or you feel about Micronesia what I feel about All-Stars, and vice versa, you know? As it was happening, I wasn't as thrilled about it, even though there was lots of awesome things happening. Now, I did go back and watch Micronesia this summer. First time I've ever rewatched any season of Survivor. And I found a lot of what people appreciated. And also, I was very receptive to Matt's argument that there was just lots of funny stuff going on this season that at the time I found a little more frustrating. Like, why are we considering this to be great gameplay when it's just morons? When you look at it the flip side, it's like, yeah, the morons are funny.
Yep.
That's good. So for me, yeah, I loved the cast of All-Stars. It was thrilling every week what was happening, and all that other stuff just didn't matter to me as I was watching it. And I think it's the same for you with Micronesia.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that this actually starts a run of, there's 4 in a row here where we're just wildly divergent on our rankings, and fairly appropriate because these are all going to shake out in roughly the same area. It's just a matter of how they should be ordered. I personally think Micronesia should be ahead of the next 2 on our list, but you ranked it so low that it can't be. So.
I ranked it in the top half, which I might not have at the beginning of the summer.
You ranked it exactly at 14, right in the middle. So I guess there's nothing else I can do to persuade you, so let's move on. We have a tie again for number 7 and 8. So 7th place tie between Palau and Amazon. You had these 3 and 4 respectively. I had them 13 and 12. So tell me why I'm so very wrong apparently on these.
Well, and you'll get the same opportunity with a few others.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, I'll say our top 10s, we were pretty in agreement near the 10 spot, as we've already discussed. We agree a couple more times, which ends up elevating some seasons. But other than that, yeah, there's some divergence. And honestly, it's just personal opinion. Like, at certain points, some things were just more fun for me at the time. And that's how I decided the top 10. Like, I knew which seasons were right near the top 10, probably the top 12. Like, these are the best seasons of Survivor. And I think, for the most part, you and I are kind of agree, other than, say, the All-Stars Micronesia split, and I think one more. But either, like, these are the great seasons, these are the seasons that you should watch. And it was just like, I really enjoyed Palau and Amazon, and I, frankly, was a little surprised that I ranked them as high as I did, but when I was kind of looking, and there was a lot of sameness, like a lot of great things with each, and it's just, these guys gave me something new. So in Palau, the physical dominance and the constant winning, first by the non-Oolong tribe. I actually don't know what the winning tribe's name was. And then by Tom, is something that not only have we never seen before in Survivor, I had come to expect could not happen in Survivor. Like, the game was rigged in such a way that such victories were not possible. And I think maybe it has now been rigged to ensure that they are, in fact, not possible.
So if we have to break the tie here, which first, basically, quote-unquote first, is more impressive and deserves to be ranked higher? The Palau single tribe dominance or Rob's constant flipping between alliances?
Yeah, that's what I put it out to. I mean, Amazon was the first time that Survivor really started to feel like it was reaching its potential, and then, it was surpassed later in All-Stars. This is the one where I'll fight that Palau should be higher because its winner is like light years better than the winner of Amazon.
And so that was going to be the argument that I would make too, because if we're ranking them as a tie, I think tiebreaker to me would be the winner of Palau is so much better than the winner of Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, Jenna Maraska winning is kind of the turd in the punch bowl of Amazon.
Yes. Because it seemed so odd at the time. Like, the whole season, we're told that she's this terrible, evil person who's mean to the deaf girl. She's totally vain, and then suddenly she's a winner?
Yeah, like, we would have put her in the 0% club, like, 3 weeks in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I knew not. I mean, I didn't know everything about Survivor, but I was just watching, and it's like, these two mean bitches cannot win. And then all of a sudden, she did. And it was just like, what? And now, look, obviously, somebody had to win, and it was her versus Psycho Matt. So I get why the jury did what they did. I kind of feel like I might have still voted for Matt, but I wasn't on that island. So, I mean, Rob C. didn't even vote for Matt, I believe. So
I think you're right.
Yeah, so it's like, I get it. Like, it was just disappointing. It wasn't the way the book should have ended. But Rob C. didn't win, and that's what happens in Survivor, right? You can still have to win that final immunity, even if you're awesome. If he wins that, where do you put Survivor Amazon?
Yeah, in that case, then it jumps much higher.
Yeah,
because I think Rob C. win probably puts Amazon into our top 5.
Yeah, like unanimous. The two of us both agree. And that's why, it's been, 12 years I've gotten over Jenna Mrazka winning. And it was just like, look, again, that's the final 20 minutes of the season, right?
Yep.
Up until then, it was so much fun. And, you look at Cochran and think, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth because I'm literally saying you, but our listeners as well, like, hey, that's me playing Survivor.
The collective you.
Yeah. Rob C. was me playing Survivor, right? And it was exciting to see that kind of archetype succeed and change the game in many ways similarly to Richard Hatch creating the game. And it's just, you run that challenge a few more times and maybe Matt wins and then Rob wins the season. It's just, them's the breaks with live sports. So yeah. I've had enough time to not disqualify it because of the way that, who won.
And getting back to the All-Stars thing, there's a reason that Rob C. goes home early.
Yeah, the same reason why Francesca did. Like Rob,
exactly.
Rob M was not messing around.
Yes.
That's why, he kind of dropped the ball in Heroes versus Villains. Should have been Parvati.
Right.
Instead of Randy. So, I've blathered on about Palau. You didn't have it as top 10, but you still really like it, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think it's a great season. It's just that once we got so high in the rankings, there was so many great contenders. It was kind of like, it's a really good season, but can I rank it ahead of these other ones? So
yeah, no, there's not a lot separating this top 10 for me. In fact, like the top 13, which, one of these shows in the top 10 was my top 13. It's just, as I said earlier, sometimes something to be truly memorable when you're looking at 28 seasons needs a newness, a firstness, and Palau is so different from everything else before and after. And I love Tom. I love him as happening. Like, that's the other great thing when, like, something exciting happens to somebody you're cheering for, which is probably what happened with you and Caramona as well.
Yep. The one thing that and we covered this when I talked about Palau when we were covering it this summer, it does disappoint me that Ian drops out at the end. If Ian stays in and we get Tom versus Ian, like it felt like we were building to all season. Again, just same thing, the narrative issue that we had with Amazon. Mm-hmm. If we get the conclusion to that story, I feel like this goes a little higher that way too.
That probably elevates, at least its stature, maybe Tom's. I'm still pretty confident that Tom beats Ian.
Probably, but it'd be a more interesting finish. It's the finish we all wanted to see.
And, well, the bigger question is if, they don't start negotiating, and yet still, let's assume somebody actually gets off of Bowie at some point. If Ian wins and doesn't take Tom,
exactly,
like that's how close it was. But then that probably would have been even more disappointing. All right, so I think the final big contentious one on our list is at number 6.
Oof.
Your personal favorite, but not your number 1 season.
Yes. So I have this ranked number 2. You put it 13 because you're a terrible human being.
Tocantins, the Brazilian Highlands? Is that the subtitle?
That's the one.
Look, I'll talk about why. I don't mean any disrespect by 13, and I certainly wasn't just messing with you. It just didn't do it for me at the time. Like, I've heard your arguments. I've recognized them. I liked a lot of it it wasn't like I disliked it when I was watching. To the point where, like, if I am going to rewatch a season, it's this one. Because I feel like I'm so out of step with people that I otherwise respect opinions about it that I'm like, I wonder why. Because I don't have any negatives so much to say as I think I was just tired of the show at that point. Like, I wasn't, like, super tired of it, but you had walked away for, like, several years. This is one of your, like, right near when you came back.
Yeah, it was, so when I came back, I think I came back for Heroes vs. Villains, and then I went back right after that and watched several of the seasons that the people were in.
So this would have a freshness for you, and thus the personalities, the gameplay. Whereas for me, as it was happening, I mean, lovely people, JT, Steven, Taj were great. Tyson was funny, but a jerk. Coach, honestly, I wasn't as excited about it. He led to some humor, definitely, but he also annoyed me. But it just kind of felt like more of the same to me.
And again, this is sort of the Panama issue where it wasn't amazing gameplay. It wasn't quite the same in that it wasn't a pagonging. Well, it kind of was in reverse.
Yeah. No, and the breakdown post-tribe is very interesting, but
yes.
That's also happened before, right?
Yeah, but you already mentioned it. Just the cast. There's JT, Steven, and Taj. Like, what a crazy group to end up together, and what an awesome cast. I mean, I would have been happy with any of those three winning. I mean, even then, outside of that, there was Aaron, who I found entertaining, Sierra, who had certainly a very interesting story, Coach, as you mentioned, occasionally some entertainment, occasionally some annoyance, and then, of course, Tyson. This is the season I fall in love with Tyson. I love it. I don't see how you can rank it so low, but I understand your arguments for some of your other seasons being higher. I can't believe it's going to end up a half point behind the season ahead of it, which is another season I like, but not as much as I like Tocantins.
Yeah, so for me, the top 13 are all, very good seasons. And then Micronesia would be the 14th. And, yeah, it's just kind of like, as I was watching, I wasn't as excited about Tocantins as any of these other ones. It was just like, all right, Survivor, cool. And one last thing is, this fell into a period where I did not have an outlet for my Survivor fandom so much as other just watching it and maybe talking with my wife. Like, Television Without Pity had changed writers. It wasn't very interesting.
So it's the internet's fault that you ranked it this low?
Well, it's a certain way, and you could say, well, that's not the season's fault, but yeah, obviously, I'm a person. I'm affected by outside factors, right? Mm-hmm. So I wasn't as into this season because I did not have a way to be into this as I did with seasons that would come after. And again, it didn't influence it so much, like a lot of those sucked. But at least I had the fun, the experience of communicating that, or seasons before. So not a lot new happened. It was a period in my life where I wasn't able to get into Survivor as much, and ultimately, I don't love Tyson as much as you do.
How dare you?
There you go. I don't dislike him. There were times I did. I thought that he and Coach kind of took their treatment of Sierra a bit to the extreme.
And you know what? I'll grant you that. It's pretty bad. I'm a horrible person, so I found it amusing.
Well, and I'll say, 100% honesty, at times I still found Tyson amusing. I'm like, that's awful, but with that laugh of that's awful. And of course, is the highlight and the appeal of Tyson, right? He
exactly.
does awful things that are funny. So, and that's just it. It's just, at the time, it felt fine. It felt like Panama and Guatemala to me.
All right, so let's get on to our top 5 then. Like I said, a part of the reason that these are our top 5 is we had such large disagreements on those last 4 that we talked about that we each had those 4 in our top 5s, but the other didn't. So they got pushed down and these got moved up because we were more in agreement.
Yeah, 2 through 4 just reveals that our personal tastes are different. I think we have a similar idea of what makes for a good Survivor season, what makes for an average Survivor season, what makes for a bad one. But after that, it's just kind of like, well, what do you like better?
Yeah, so number 5 on our list is actually one that we both had ranked number 7, but it just so happens that there was such disagreement about some of the other ones that those got pushed down. So number 5 is Survivor Philippines, and why here? Although this isn't where we intended it to be.
Yeah, I know. 7 feels so right? Like, this is not a top 5 season, but you got a few things wrong. Come on, Micronesia is just not that good, people. Philippines is great, and one of the best new seasons. It takes all of the things that came before it and serves it up well. What's interesting is this has returning players, and it didn't matter.
But does it well? Yes.
Yeah. And we said it, when we were talking about it. If you're going to do one returning player versus non-returning, then the returning player cannot be outstanding. It has to be a player with flaws. And that's probably enough to even the playing field.
And not only that, next time maybe give us some female returning players.
Yes, that absolutely has to happen. They've done it once, and it's ridiculous that they haven't done it again. The only problem is, if they did it again, we'd want like the absolute best they've ever had, and then it would lead to the other problem.
Yes,
we'd want Parvati versus Kim, and then it would be like, yeah, look at that, Rob dominating. Malcolm is such a delight.
He and Denise. Yeah. I mean, just their whole arc, starting from the tribe of losers, the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked, and then rising to the top, both of them, and then Denise basically taking Malcolm out at the end because she realizes it's going to be her or him that wins the season, and she correctly figures out, like, okay, well, I would like to win. I'll get rid of Malcolm.
Yeah, Denise does what Colby couldn't. Now, she had to get pushed there by Malcolm, but still, that's the what you should do.
Yep. And was justly rewarded
and Malcolm
for
was
it.
going to do it too because he knows, right? Malcolm, like Cochran, is basically a second-generation Survivor player. He has grown up with the show, has been a huge fan, and we got to see that in action. And literally grown up, like they're younger than we are. So they were kids, and they evolved with the show, and then they brought it there. And the difference between him and Cochran is with Cochran, it's all internal. It's all about what he can say with the camera, how he can lead, fade to the background and lead from behind if he needs to. Malcolm gets to put all that Survivor nerdery in a package that can actually do things, right?
Right.
And phrasing with package, but he's an athletic guy. He's young. He's attractive. He's charismatic. Like he does the things that like a Probst would want out of Survivor, but also what we would like out of Survivor.
Yes.
He's
a good combo.
Yeah. Penner is a fantastic narrator Survivor. He is not necessarily a very good Survivor player, but I'll sign up for another season of Penner. Bring him back if you want. Because he mixes it up, he does some things, but also he has to work against people working against him, so it's not a cakewalk.
And as far as villains, Abby Maria's not bad.
Not bad. It would have been nicer if she was more coherent. But it's good. Everything going on, it's the classic thing, like we saw in Tocantins. Cal Blau or whatever was dominating, and then they destroy themselves at the merge, and that's exciting. There was some excellent plays. Malcolm did the classic pulling out the idol and daring people not to vote or to vote for him, which they won't. Mm-hmm. There was nothing that we hated about this season. Like there weren't missteps.
No, it was a pretty good season.
Yeah,
and it made a lot of sense. There was a lot of entertainment, good cast, like we said, and doesn't deserve to necessarily be 5, but I'm not opposed to it being 5.
Yeah, and also I think what's nice, and we'll see this again, because if you're doing your math, there's obviously another recent season coming up, is I think there's a tendency to not want to rate new things as highly. Just because, I have that tendency personally. Trying to overcorrect for recency bias or whatever, but it's really heartening that this show could throw up a possible top 5 season or 2 this late in its run.
Yeah, and we'll get to an interesting potential wrinkle with our next one, because I'm assuming you're ready to move on. Okay, so number 4, I'm not going to reveal what it is yet, because I want to try to make you a deal here. I don't feel like our number 3 should be number 3. I feel like that should be number 4, and I'm willing to change my ranking on my number 4 to make this into a tie so that we can make that happen.
See, I'd rather you move Micronesia down.
Listen, I will move Tocantins down to 3, move this particular season up to 2, and then we've got a tie for the number 3 spot.
Interesting proposal.
Are you on board with this?
I'm considering it. Let's talk it through.
It's a Survivor-style on-the-spot negotiation.
That's right. Now, I just don't know if what you're offering me is worth Flint. I mean, my life is fine.
You're sitting pretty in Canada.
But at the same time, what we have at 3, we both voted as 5.
Yes.
So it moved up. So then I just have to think, why did I put it at 8?
Yes. So should we reveal what these are?
Yeah, so right now let's talk as though this is a tie and work this out.
Okay.
So we're talking about Pearl Islands.
You've got Pearl Islands at 8. I have it at 3, but I'm willing to put it to 2 and move Tocantins down just to force this tie.
So I think the flaw of Pearl Islands, well, there's one big glaring sore thumb.
Yes.
which is the Outcast twist.
Right.
Which feels like it's enough to move it down a spot or two on its own. Except there's one thing. Why this doesn't suck as much as Redemption Island is that we got to operate blissfully for 7 episodes without knowing this was even a thing.
Right.
Alright, so those 7 episodes, which are really great episodes, Outcast didn't matter. And then they do the Outcast spin, and then it certainly affects it. Lil makes it to the final 2. Burton hangs around for a while, but it's not like we're having to revisit every week. So it was almost like a one-time misstep that really threatened to ruin everything. And this is the other thing. Lil makes it to the final 2.
Yes.
Even if she wasn't an Outcast, a final 2 of which Lil is one of the 2.
And as Matt points out, it did cause his hero, Savage, to go home far too early.
Yeah. Although here's the thing I have with that. Tough. You know,
Yeah.
It was Savage's damn fault. And I understand that he's upset. I understand being, bitter that the game threw you such a terrible twist, having to deal with this person. But you know what? You suck it up. You invite them into your tribe because everybody who is on the beach with you is a potential asset. And people who discard those assets as though they are useless damage themselves. And it was Savage's own fault that he got voted out. And honestly, as much as Lil annoyed me, I was happy to see it when it happened. Because I hate when people treat people like they did with Lil. Not because it personally offends me, but because it offends my gameplay sensibilities. Tough luck that you got Lil, but now she's on there and she could vote you out. And guess what happened? She voted
him
you
out.
Contrast this with the other tribe. They got the bigger threat coming back to them. But you know what? They're like, hey, Burton, no hard feelings. Let's all be one tribe. And then they voted him out later when they could.
Well, eventually. Only when it was basically he and Fairplay were deciding that they were going to be the final 2.
So, and this is one last thing. Are we comfortable with the season of Rupert being top 3?
Yes, because, as we mentioned, at the time, everybody loved Rupert, both of us included.
Mm-hmm. I just worry if this is like, at the time, everybody loved the Macarena.
I'm doing it right now. You just can't see it because this isn't a video podcast.
For me, I hated it the second I heard that stuff.
Oh, so did I.
I was right about the Macarena. I was right about Ice Ice Baby. And
How dare you? Check it out. Ice is rhyming.
Yeah,
to the top he keeps on climbing.
Under Pressure.
I'll
That's
quote
not
that
true.
whole song.
I was in junior high. I'd never heard the Queen song, but
Anyway.
I was listening to Public Enemy. Anyway, I'm talking way off stream here.
Yeah, we are. Okay, so again, I'm willing to move Pearl Islands up just because I think it belongs in the number 3 spot. It overcomes one of the worst twists they've ever had. Great cast. I mean, Rupert, Sandra, John, even to an extent, Lil. There was Dara.
Oh, you understand why they cast Lil.
Yes,
She
exactly.
delivered what they wanted, although maybe they thought she'd be more sympathetic. Burton was a great character.
We had our first quit, which is historical. I mean, it's something.
Let's do it.
It's not the one you would think. You're in?
We're in.
All right.
So our number 4 season, because I think the other thing is when I was looking at it, I was like, wow, really? Is Cagayan.
Yeah.
The most recent season, we both ranked as 5. And I think you might have done what I did, was when you're looking through it and all, it's like, you know what? I think it is a top 5 season.
It is
but
a really good season.
But you weren't willing to go any lower than 5.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the thing is, it was a really good season. I liked Tony a lot. There was a pretty decent cast. Certainly a lot of entertaining moves. I don't feel like it should be a top 3 season.
Yeah, I mean, the ink has been dry for like 3 months now, so it's tough. But one thing I do appreciate, and I believe it was Will we had, is he gave us, he ranked it even higher, which was surprising because he was one of its detractors when we interviewed him in season.
Yep.
So it gave us the freedom to, screw it. Don't worry about recency bias. Great is great. And yeah, there was so much that went on last season, and I feel sorry for the people that did not like it because the people they liked did not do well.
Yeah, and I mean, it was one of those things that week to week we were like, well, what the hell's going to happen next? I mean, how often do you get that? I mean, we make fun of ourselves for our predictions being wrong, but that's because the season was so good.
Yeah, I mean, anytime things should have gone according to plan, Tony changed the plans. It was like a Roddy Piper interview.
People love the wrestling callbacks.
We're going to reference everything before this show is over. And I don't necessarily mean this podcast.
We have 90s rap. We have some, 80s wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, come on. What's more fun than, people going left and right? And what's made it that way is because the front runner, who in retrospect was the obvious winner, was anything but while the season was happening. We caught a lot of heat during the season for saying that Tony is playing great, and people are like, oh, no, he could never win. A guy like Tony can never win. It's like, no. He's doing it.
Right.
Watch what's
you're
happening.
Right. He can't win unless he does exactly what he's doing, and then he did.
Yeah, and it's like, nobody like him has won before. That's why I said he could never win with the first episode. Turns out you can do it. You just need to never sleep and just constantly be on the offense.
And talk llama.
Yeah, it's just a fast break offense, going, and it worked, and that's exciting. We could be so blessed if everybody played this way.
Yes.
It's ill-advised for many people. It's a good way to find a comfort zone in Survivor and let it ride out, but it's not telegenic, Sophie did exactly what she needed to do to win. God bless her. Boring,
Yeah.
Tony was the opposite.
That was going to be my exact line, is that basically Boston Rob and Sophie played great games, ran it to the wire, blah, blah, blah. Those seasons are ranked really low. This season was great and entertaining and fantastic, and it gave us... I'm going to play the clip of Tony talking llama here because it gave us this. How fun is that? Tony talking llama. People were all about Spencer for some reason. I don't really know why.
I enjoyed him, and you know what? I enjoyed him more after he got voted out.
Me too.
I think Spencer would be a perfect complement to the way we talk about Survivor. He would probably be right there with us, and frankly, he echoed a lot of the things that we were saying about himself.
Yes.
No, he was a good character, and interestingly, not at all the character they thought they were casting.
No, and I think it's funny that most of the people watching they read so much into Spencer because everyone believed, Tony can't win, so I'm going to get on board with Spencer and say that Spencer should win because he's doing so great, when he wasn't really, by his own admission. Yeah. And, in the end, you're proven wrong. Tony was playing great as he needed to, and he wins.
Yeah, Spencer filled the obvious strategist role. He talked the talk. But guess what? It actually turned out, and again, to his credit, Spencer will be the first person to say this, that Tony was a strategist. And we're just not used to seeing a strategist have to sweat that much. Right. And there was a good amount of flop sweat, but that's part of what made the season great. These other people made him work for it. And frankly, Tony himself made him work for it. And yeah, work for it, damn it. That's exciting. I want to see teams make diving catches in the outfield. Long bomb, buzzer beater threes. I'll mix all the metaphors I want. Passing is more exciting than just constantly rushing to three clouds in a dust. And that's what Cagayan was.
Yeah, and I think we kind of covered it earlier. You can say that Kim beat this lackluster cast. You can say what you want to about this cast, but most of them knew how to play the game of Survivor. Tony
and the ones that didn't led to exciting moments. Like a game of poker can get completely uphanded when the person doesn't do what they should be doing, and that was Cass.
Yes.
Not a great player, but having to account for Cass made things more exciting.
Right, and I mean, you had Trish, who was a great player. Spencer probably would have been a good player. Tasha would have been a good player. But Tony beat all of them, so they didn't look as great as they could have.
LJ could have been a contender, and thus Tony voted him out.
Yep.
So yeah, that's 4. I feel pretty good about that. So Pearl Island's at 3 for the reasons we discussed, but more specifically, just fabulously entertaining people brought on to television to play a wonderful game.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of that's it, right?
Yeah. And let's do a quick recap here because we're about to get to our top 2. So we started off with Caramoan at 14, All Stars was 13, Blood vs. Water 12, China 11, Borneo was 10, Micronesia was 9th, Amazon 8th, Palau 7th, Tocantins 6th, ooh, I should learn to pronounce things, Philippines 5, Cagayan 4, Pearl Islands 3, and if you've been paying attention, you know which 2 we're down to. So you're wondering right now, did we rank Heroes vs. Villains number 1? And the answer is hell yes, we did.
Yes, both of us.
Of course we did.
We agreed on Cagayan at 5, and we agreed at Heroes vs. Villains 1, which leaves Cook Islands at number 2.
Yes, Cook Islands is our number 2 season because Heroes vs. Villains has to be number 1.
Yeah, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about both, but just out of curiosity, did you have Heroes vs. Villains at 1 at the beginning of summer and just waited to see if anything would push it off?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that was basically it for me. I tried, and I was looking at it because, I could understand the arguments that maybe this didn't or this didn't, but no, Heroes vs. Villains is fully optimized Survivor. And this is from a Boston Rob fan. This is the season when Boston Rob got shown up, right? Like, he lost to somebody I hate. And it did not matter. Heroes vs. Villains was Survivor at its purest form.
And as I mentioned, I'm totally in the bag for Tyson. Love him, thinks he's great, awesome TV. He goes home real early. I don't care. This is still
do his own completely blunder-headed move. Yeah.
Yes. Through his own active idiocy, he goes home. And I don't care. It was still an amazing season.
Yeah, and both of us are not Russell fans, but we also both agree that he was the most symbolic player of this season.
Yep.
And that's why Heroes vs. Villains works so well for us, is that it just was always working and was always doing new things. And look, in retrospect, the Heroes were kind of, duds once they fell to Russell, but they weren't at the beginning. I mean, there was some jerky behavior on display, but you still had Tom saving himself with an idle play and getting a Saria out from her own play with his the plurality versus majority, switching over JT. You had there was great moments every week. There was things to talk about and exciting things happening. Sandra being able to save herself for 1 vote by putting the heat on Coach. Survivor can't always be like Heroes vs. Villains. This is why we desperately want another All-Star seasons, because that's probably the only way it could happen.
Right. That's the only way you're going to reach this level.
Yeah. So let's talk about our number 2 show, Cook Islands. I had it at number 2, and you had it at number 6.
Yeah, but I mean, we kind of went over this earlier. The gap between 1 through 8, basically, is so small that you had it 2 versus my 6. I'm fine with it being 4, 3, 5, whatever. And even 2, I'm it's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm fine with that. It's a great season, awesome cast, great winner, interesting concept, interesting twist, race wars. Yeah, and this was one of those things where you would think this should backfire. Wow, why are you dividing tribes by race? That's a terrible idea. And yet, number 2 on our list all time.
Yeah, and Wyatt Wert, we discussed this when we discussed it with, I believe, my brother-in-law Billy, is that by doing this terrible idea of race wars from a marketing standpoint, it forced diversity. And like we just talked about recently, diversity is a problem for Survivor. And this isn't just, I feel good about myself as a liberal because Survivor was more diverse. No, by having different viewpoints and different types of people, we got a different kind of Survivor. And it was more interesting because of it.
Yeah, and you made the point, and I don't know if it actually made it in or we had audio issues with it last episode when we were covering the current season. But we talked about whether Yul could actually be Yul if this cast wasn't so diverse. Could he actually have been a leader if he was the lone Asian male on a season? And both of us kind of agreed, probably not. So the fact that it was so diverse gave us the Yul that we got, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and then, look at the people that have come back. I mean, Yul hasn't, but I believe that, I would only hope that that's his own choice. If they're not asking Yul back, they're making huge mistakes. But then, so we don't love Ozzy, but Ozzy is obviously one of the more popular figures in the history of the show. We liked him enough during Cook Islands.
Yeah.
He's come back 3 times. Parvati, possibly the greatest player in the history of Survivor. I know. She won a recent poll through Rob's audience to suggest that.
Yeah.
She's come back 3 times. Jonathan Penner, one of the best narrators in the history show, come back 3 times. Candace is often available and has come back 3 times.
Candace has blonde hair.
Yeah. So that's, 4 people that they keep going back to because this cast was that rich. And they could go back. They need to bring back Yule for an all-winter season. Do what you need to do. Bring him back. They could bring back Becky, is a good personality. There's
even Sandra,
yes, who is remarkably attractive.
Yeah, and Post Island. I actually, because I think this came up when we were rating Brains, Brawn, and Beauty when we were fan casting. And I think I even shot down the idea at the time. I was like, I don't remember her being that great. And then I went and Googled it, and I was like, oh man, I was ridiculous. Who was I thinking of? Because
on Island she dressed appropriately. And
yes.
She was. This is the season of the Sex Kid and Parvati and Barbie Candace. She wasn't pushed, right. But yeah, she's one of the few people at a reunion that was like, whoa.
Yep.
Like, that's an elegant, beautiful woman. Anyway, yeah, Cook Islands, great characters, great casting, great gameplay. This is the season that has, Yule and Penner having a rational discussion about each other's needs and what will help each other further in the game in a way that you just don't get in Survivor, or you don't get enough. If we edited Survivor, you'd get that all the time.
Yes, and I was just going to say, if this show was edited for us, this is something you would see every season, is that sort of conversation.
Yeah, and then beyond the strategic play, just from a straight satisfying, this is underdog group of 4 getting the best of a bunch of spoiled punks, This is just typical, John Hughesian type things, right? It was the young, spoiled people get theirs in the end.
And not only that, they take down the white people.
And Nate. Yeah, so it had everything I want out of Survivor. I wasn't sure until I started making this list that I had it at number 2, but I think it deserves to be there, and I've said it before, I'll say it again right now. If you're going to show somebody one season of Survivor, if you have a friend that's like, okay, sure, let's check it out. Or maybe somebody you just started dating. You can't do heroes versus villains.
No. You don't want to start at the
Not
peak.
only do they not know the people, that's just too advanced a level of gameplay. Cook Islands is the season you start on.
Yes.
Because you don't need to know anything more about Survivor than just starting that first episode, and you'll walk your way through it.
Yeah, there's no backstory to any of the people that are playing the game. They'll explain all the rules as it goes along. Totally new cast, good twists, and great finale.
All right, so there you go. 28 seasons of Survivor ranked. I'm sure you all will just completely agree with us. So,
as you should.
But on the off chance that you feel like we may have stumbled 1 or 2 places, please drop us a line. You can leave a comment on the post of this on the blog at purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com. You can send us an email, purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you feel like it's so obvious what we did, and you can get your thoughts in 140 characters, you could do it at Twitter, Purple Rock Pod.
You can, I'll simplify the tweet for you. Just type, I hate you, period, send.
Sincerely, Kristen Marie. Which of these seasons do you think that we most fall out of step? If you had to pick one, looking at this whole list, which is the most surprising, and not just because I don't love Tocantins as much as you?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who's going to have the most supporters. You know what? I'm going to say China. I think people are going to be pissed that China didn't make the top 10. A lot of people love China.
It's a possibility. I kind of feel like Australia, maybe. Just because...
Really?
I don't know. You and I are not early season supporters, but there are people out there. Although I wonder how much of them are still big on the internet. Adam B is probably like, "Hey, come on, guys! Survivor was never better than the first 2 seasons." But
yeah,
that one seems to stick out a bit for me. Obviously, I'm sure there's some people that are going to fight the Vanuatu battle again. Yeah, and then I think Cagayan. I think we'll catch some for that.
Oh, yeah.
Some people just aren't ready to give it the respect it deserves, and I pity them. Few seasons of Survivor have been as more fun than that.
Yeah, so I'll say that people are going to want us to push China up and Cagayan down.
And then, they'll probably upset at me for not being as high on Micronesia. But hey, it's top 10.
Yeah, thanks to me.
Thanks to you.
And so, on that note, thank you guys for listening. Send us the comments in the ways that Andy just told you. And Andy...
We'll catch you later this week when we talk about the newest episode of Survivor and theme music.
Stole it right out from under me.